Hi, it's Elaine with MCPS Technology. Let's explore the quiz feature in Google Forms, which makes it super easy to create quizzes that auto-grade themselves. It's awesome. This feature enables you to use assessments like exit tickets and quick quizzes to gauge learning so that you know what to reteach and how to move forward with the curriculum. So let's get started looking at the quiz feature specifically. We're in Drive. And to get started, we're going to go to New, More, and then choose Google Forms. First, let's name our quiz. So I click in the upper left, and let's call it Practice Quiz 1, since it's our first quiz. And as always, after you name a form, the first thing you should do is go to your settings and make sure you have it set up the way you want it. So the first thing I have to decide is, do I want to collect email addresses? And the answer is yes. This is going to help you know whose quiz is whose. So that's a really important step. Also, do I want to restrict this to my domain? In our case, that's mcps.org. Well, if I'm making a quiz for my students, then the answer is yes. I want to restrict it. Do I want to limit to one response? In most cases, I would say yes if it's a test or a quiz. I'm actually going to uncheck that box today because I may need to submit this more than once to show you the results. Do I want the respondents to be able to edit after they submit? Probably not. Now let's go to presentation. Do I want to show a progress bar? Well, I have a really short quiz, only 2 questions, so the answer to that is no. Shuffle question order. In most cases, yes, that could be helpful to keep students from sort of looking at each other's computers. I don't need to show a link to submit another response, and of course, I can put whatever confirmation message that I want. The key to making this different from any other Google form, like a survey, is to click in this quiz area. So what I have to do is click Make This a Quiz. And when I do that, that means I can set up point values and correct answers and things like that. Do I want to release the grade immediately after each submission? Or do I want to release it later after I review it manually? And really, that's a teacher decision. We're going to leave this at immediately so the student can see his grades. So the respondent can see, by default, the missed questions, the correct answers, and the point values. I think I'm going to uncheck correct answers because I'd like the respondent to look up those answers and find out. Once I'm happy with that, I can click Save. And then I'm back in my quiz and I'm ready to start creating questions. So now, because this is going to be an auto-graded quiz, it will be much easier if I stick with question forms like multiple choice or true false. So I click on the plus sign to add a question, and by default, it brings in multiple choice. So let's write a really short Google quiz. My first question will be, Google was registered as a domain in what year? So what year did google.com get released to the public? So for my answers, I'll click into option 1 and I'll put 1996. To get another option, I can simply hit enter, 1997, and then 1998. So those are my 3 choices. If I scroll down, I can see that, like any other question, I can duplicate this. I can send it to the trash. I can make this question required. On a quiz, I would likely want to do that. There's 3 dots here that I want you to be aware of as well, that they're at the bottom of every question, but you may have never clicked on them. So one of the things you can do in Google Forms is you can send the students to another section based on their answer. So this is a way that you can actually create things like where students can choose their own ending to a story, or if they get the question right, they go to one part. If they get it wrong, they go to another part where they might need to review. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it's there. Once you get to know forms better, you may want to use some of those features. The other thing that's super important when you're building a quiz is this section, the answer key. Of course, the quiz can't grade itself unless you put in the correct answers. So click on answer key as you're building your question, and then you want to actually choose the correct answer. So you may not have known this, you're going to learn something today. Google was registered as a domain in 1997. So I'll tag that as the correct answer. And because this is only going to be a 2-question quiz, I'm going to make this worth 50 points. I can actually put any number there that I like, but because I usually use my quizzes in Classroom, and Classroom defaults to 100 points, I'm just going to stick with that. The other thing I can do is add answer feedback. So I can add it for incorrect and correct answers. So for the incorrect answer, I want to say, you can Google it. Oops, I don't need a capital there. For correct answers, I might want to just say something like, way to go. Notice I can also put links and videos here. So this is super helpful to students when they get answers wrong. Then I can simply save that. And now I can see everything. I can see the correct answer, the point values, and my feedback. And I'm ready to go on to the next question. Adding another question. And let's see, what can I ask? The original name for Google was going to be, I wonder if you know this one. Okay, option 1, how about Goober? Bubble, back rub. Now, believe it or not, one of these is the correct answer. Let's go to the answer key. Okay, so 50 points it's going to be worth because I have a 2-question quiz, and the correct answer is back rub. Ha! Can you imagine? If Google was called back rub, let me back rub that for you. That sounds really, really weird. Okay, so I won't put in answer feedback since you've already seen how that works. And now that I have my 2 questions done, I'm really ready to go up to preview, which I should always do, and look at my quiz. So I click on the preview button, and I can even take my own quiz, which I really would advise you to do to make sure it works correctly and looks the way you want. So why don't I choose an incorrect answer for one, like 1996, and the correct answer for the second one, so you can see what your students will see. Now notice that my students will immediately see a screen that says View Score. Clicking on that, I can see which questions I got wrong. I can see the feedback. You can Google it. I can see that I made 50 points out of 100 and I got the second question right. Wow, cool. So as the creator of the quiz, I can just click back in to my edit mode, of course. My students cannot do that since they didn't create the quiz. Now, when I'm ready, I can simply send this the way I would any other form, but if I'm using it in Google Classroom, there's really no need to do that. I can simply load it in Classroom as I would any other assignment, meaning I can go to my drive and get it and then upload it as I build the assignment. Once students complete the quiz, it will automatically mark it as done in Classroom, and it will also record the score for me. So that's a pretty awesome thing. Next video, we're going to be looking at quiz results so that we can dig a little deeper into how do I find my quiz results outside of Google Classroom. That's the quiz feature in Google Drive. I know you're going to love it.